In the name of the beneficent and merciful God, peace and mercy and blessings of God be with you. I'm your brother in faith, Shabir Ally. Today, I bring you another book review. And today we're reviewing this book. It is entitled, Does God Exist? It is written by J.P. Moreland, a Christian philosopher, and Kai Nielsen, an ethicist and an atheist. So this book is a result of a debate that took place between the two authors in 1988. They have put in written form the debate, which was done on at a physical location and orally. And it also includes analyses and contributed articles from a number of other scholars as well. So it is a very important and informative book dealing with the question of theism versus atheism. Should we believe that there is a God? And if there is a God, what is God like? And if there is no God, how can we lead a moral life without God in the picture? So these are very important questions that are being analyzed by people to our present day. And this book gives you a lot of the information that you will need at your fingertips. J.P. Moreland, arguing for the theistic side, naturally argues for a Christian theism. So Muslims reading this book will want to adjust in their minds, how might we approach the subject from a Muslim point of view? What might be similar or different in the way in which we might argue for theism, given the Islamic concept of God? But nonetheless, I have found in my own experience that Muslims have hardly engaged with atheists in discussions of this nature and depth in our present times. We learn about Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, having a debate with an atheist. It's a very famous story in which Imam Abu Hanifa showed up late for the debate that was planned. And when he arrived, he said something like, "Excuse me, but on the way here, suddenly a brook appeared in my path. I couldn't cross it except that a tree appeared on the side. And, it took me time to cut down that tree and use it, to span the brook to get across." And this atheist person said to him, "Well, that's ridiculous. A brook couldn't appear by itself, a tree appearing by itself." And Imam Abu Hanifa said, "Well, that's my whole point, that everything you see around you could not have appeared by itself. It needed a creator." And so the debate is over. Well, that of course is a rudimentary and simple sort of argument. But nowadays, the discussions between theists and atheists have gone to greater depths. And I see that Muslims have not risen to the occasion of debating with atheists at that level of depth. And I see that our Christian friends have actually done a wonderful job of that. So J.P. Moreland, a very capable Christian philosopher, debating with Kai Nielsen. So what might be offered as the Christian argument here? J.P. Moreland argues that the universe could not have been in existence forever, because the second law of thermodynamics shows that eventually everything leads to a state of entropy. And we would find that over time, there will be a great stabilization. So whereas you have things that are separated as they are now, eventually with time, everything becomes in a state of equilibrium. And since that has not happened, it's proof that the universe did not exist forever. And if the universe began at a certain point in time, this means that the universe needs someone to bring it into existence, and that someone had to be someone with a will that brings it into existence at a particular time. And that's how we have the universe. So that is proof for the existence of a first cause that has a will to bring it into existence. It's not an immaterial or a mindless first cause. And with arguments like this, J.P. Moreland presented basically the case for belief in God in general, And then he argues from the idea that Jesus, on whom be peace, is the servant of God who was resurrected from the dead by God. This would prove that the particularly Christian God is in view here. As for the atheist, Kai Nielsen argues that the idea of God is incoherent. People talk about God, and we cannot put our finger on what exactly they mean by God. And he spent a lot in dealing with that particular question of the coherence of the idea of God. But Moreland replies that even though we cannot sometimes be very specific about our definition of God, nonetheless, we have a sense of what we're talking about. And based on that broad sense, we can say that the arguments for the existence of God are very good. As for ethics without God, how can we live an ethical life if there is no God? More to the question, I think anybody can live an ethical life if they choose to. But the question is, well, why would you choose to? Or, I mean, you would, but if somebody says, no, I don't have to choose to live an ethical life, then what would be the compelling reason that you can give to this person to live an ethical life? You can say, all right, if you live an ethical life and everyone around you lives an ethical life, this helps everybody. For example, if you don't murder and nobody murders you, everybody is safe. But somebody may say, but wait a minute, I can murder and get away with it. Why shouldn't I do it? Or one might not make that argument, but one might say, I can rob, cheat, and steal and get away with it. Why shouldn't I? Now, of course, a lot of good people, even atheists, will make sure that they do not do these crimes or commit these morally reprehensible acts. But if somebody decides to do that, what compelling argument will you give them if you don't have the idea that God exists? So the idea that God exists and it presents a compelling reason for why we should live moral and ethical lives, because there is a God who created us for the sake of good so that we can do good things. And by doing what is morally right, we are fulfilling a higher purpose that is given to us by the God who created us. But all I think Kai Nielsen can say from the atheist side is that, yeah, we can be moral beings if we choose to, and we choose to be moral beings. And so we're not different from the people of religion. The fact that we don't have God doesn't mean that we're lacking something in morality. And there are some interesting articles here. The one by Dallas Willard, I found myself really attracted to. And Dallas Willard gives some very reasonable arguments for the existence of God. He says, for example, that if we think about our present moment, I'm putting it in my own words now in even a simpler style, then our present moment is a combination of what was there in the previous moment plus some natural laws. So some natural laws working on the previous moment transform that previous moment to our present moment with all of its state of affairs, with everything in the place as it is. So we have the two things, the previous state of affairs, which is a material and physical state, plus the natural laws which work to transform that previous state to our present state. And now we can keep going back, and we can see that our previous state is owing to another previous state, and that too is to another previous moment and previous moment and so on. So as far back as we go, all we have is a material state plus the natural laws that transform that material state into a new one. But we cannot go back forever, because unless you have a first material state, then you cannot have the whole sequence of material states following one after another. So the first material state had to be brought into existence not by another material state, but obviously an immaterial or a spiritual state. And it is that spiritual power acting on the first, in the first place to bring about the first material state is what we are calling God. I believe that to be a very compelling argument for the belief in God. This book is very interesting and useful in many different ways. One way is that in the introduction and also in the conclusion, Peter Kreeft gives us ways of analyzing the material for the debate. For example, in diagrams like this, he makes us think about how decisions about whether to believe in God or not are made, and what are the various stepping stones in making that belief. For example, you can say, okay, I don't want to decide, so I'm an agnostic. If you make a decision, then either you're saying, I'm going to believe or not believe. So either theism or atheism. If you choose belief, then either your belief will fall within a formal structure of religious belief, or it'll be an informal belief. An informal belief will be something personal, but formal, you're within a religious system. If you're within a religious system, is it going to be a monotheistic or polytheistic system? If it's a monotheistic system, then are you going to have theism, the belief in one God, or a pantheism, in which theism, which is a belief in God, or pantheism, in which the idea is that everything is God, or something of this nature? And then if you believe in theism, in the existence of God, is that a personal God or is it an impersonal God? Like the deists said, there is a God, but he's not personal. You can't appeal to that God in prayer, for example. So, but a personal God you can talk to in prayer. And if it's a personal God, is it Trinitarianism, such as in Christianity, or is it Unitarianism, such as in Judaism and Islam? And I would like to add here some forms of Christianity as well, because not all Christians are Trinitarians. But Peter Kreeft has given us a very useful way of thinking about the various possibilities that are open to people in terms of belief, and helps us to think about where exactly our belief falls within that broader spectrum of the wide variety of choices. Altogether, I find that this is a very useful book, and I wish that Muslims would have written a book like this, with this depth, dealing with the problems of belief versus disbelief. And I wish that Muslims were debating with atheists at this level to result in a book of this nature being compiled. Now, there are, to be sure, some good Muslim debaters out there who have been debating with atheists, and I give full credit to them, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them to do even more and do better. But a book like this gives us an ideal for us to work towards. Many Muslims have learned from the writings and the debates of William Lane Craig in particular, one of the contributors to this book. And I myself personally have learned from him and from this debate that is in this book and the rest of the contributed articles. It is a book that has actually equipped me and made it possible and gave me the strength and courage to debate with atheists and others. It is a book that has actually changed my life. And I hope that this book will make a difference in your life as well. Perhaps it might even change your life. Thank you for watching. I'm your brother in faith, Shabir Ally. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you.
When did you start watching Let the Quran Speak? A year ago? 5, 10, 20 years ago? So many of you message us and comment and email us to tell us how much Let the Quran Speak means to you. You tell us you were disillusioned with Islam, but we've helped you return. You tell us you became Muslim after watching our show. We hear from people who knew about Muslims only from the media and have found their misperceptions shattered. We hear from people who disagree with us, but respect and admire us for the values we represent. We get requests from chaplains, teachers, and journalists. Let the Quran Speak has grown tremendously. From a no-frills, volunteer-driven side project, we've built a strong team and developed expertise in video production. We've been on TV for 20 years now. We're thriving on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Every year, thousands of hours go into research, writing, producing, and editing. Over the last 2 years, we've diversified our content, producing short films, documentaries, and video essays. Our operations were limited during COVID, but we've continued to produce new content and new episodes. But there's still so much more we can do. We want to take Let the Quran Speak to the next level. We want to build a specialized studio, which will serve as a creative hub for Muslims in the arts. We want to engage the best and brightest creative talent. We want to go out into the community and tell stories about Muslims from all walks of life. We can't do it without you. Your support has been instrumental in helping us advance. And now we're reaching out to you again. We need your help to continue growing. This Ramadan, we are launching a campaign to raise $170,000. We have around 170,000 subscribers on YouTube. If each person gave as little as $1, we would be well positioned to advance Let the Quran Speak. If you enjoy our content and think our work is important, we invite you to join our journey. Empower us to showcase Muslims' lives. Help us share the message of Islam in a way that people can connect with and understand. Support us today, and together we can take Let the Quran Speak to the next level. Your contribution is tax deductible and zakat eligible. Most importantly, you will get a share in the reward from God. May God bless you and your loved ones with the very best always, and may you draw ever closer to God this Ramadan.